Okay, Bismillah. And now we commence what is the last part of this lecture series. We have spoken about the spirit, the mind, the soul, and now we have left before us the body. We have understood how the ultimate, absolute singularity, what is the ground of being of the human self, is spirit. And we have understood what spirit is, that it is the breath of God, that it is God within thee, it is the oneness of thy being, the oneness of being as it is in thee, as it is whom thou art. Spirit is the divine seed of your being, the ultimate singularity, that irreducible essence which is what you are. And understanding the oneness of being, understanding the fundamental structure of reality, we then should understand how spirit is the only thing which matters, the only thing which must be our focus, our attention, our presence, our worship. All is spirit. And every single thing which is done, all the forms of our being, whether they be the forms of our thoughts, the forms of our actions, the forms of our personality, even the formal structure of our body itself, and the world and family and relationships and everything, all these things which are the multiplicity of our forms, that they begin in spirit. And that this singularity of spirit in self-conception and self-perception, as it breatheth in itself, inhaleth and exhaleth, conceiveth and perceiveth, as spirit brings manyness into oneness and gives forth oneness into manyness, that this fundamental, undulating, oscillating, pulsation and breath, not only the breath of the body, but this breath of the spirit, that is all the generations of our being. And so the only thing which truly there is that moment of self-conception. When we say I am, that I am in this one self-conception, which differentiates into all the self-perceptions of my mind and my body, that as I say I am, from that branches out, from this central singularity branches out what we might call the mind, or character, personality. All these things are emanations of the spirit. We say I am, that creates self-image. I am so and so. What we think ourselves to be is that perception of the conception of spirit. And from our thoughts and images and feelings, these then become our actions. These then become the forms of our actions, which come out through the spirit. From the spirit, through the imagination, unto the body. Spirit, mind, body. Singularity, conception and perception, form. We understand this. We understand the fundamental process of being and becoming. How all there is but the present moment. How that is the moment of conception and perception. How that generates all of reality. And that is where we are now. The generations of being The breathings out of the spirit, these spiritual emanations, inspirations, they produce not only the physical body, but the body of the world. And everything that you see out there before you, or think there to be, including all of society, the entire planet Earth, all the stars in the sky, and the very cosmos, all of these things are generated by consciousness. Spirit is the logos, the underlying program which generates all of reality. That is where we are. That is thyself, which is self-becoming. Spirit is self-reflection. This conception, conceiving everything in this one moment, that is will. It is our will which is to conceive in the moment, the act, the thought. It is that oneness which is the center and the singularity of all things. For there is the world before me, yea, but there is I, and I perceive the world. For me here to perceive the world, the entire world must have been conceived in the singularity of my perception. In this very act now, in my here speaking before you unto the camera, in this will, in this thought, in this action, here I conceive everything, all of my being, my breath, my thought, my energy, but also all the world, for all perception is brought together in here this one moment, this one word which I bespeak unto you. And that is what you do. In every moment, to every moment, you are conceiving the world through will. Through will and action, you conceive everything into one thing. And you also perceive it. Out from that dark singularity, there is an illuminating and fulgurating explosion by which this central inner singularity branches out and diverges into all the forms which constitute the world. This perception is your knowledge. As you act, you are also knowing the thing in which you act, and they feed into each other as a cybernetic system. Conception, perception, conception, conceiving perception, and perception, perceiving conception. In one simultaneous unity of yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine, heaven and earth, the two fundamental poles of all things, generating all things. Now, we shall understand what are the generations of being, and how we live in the body, how we live in the world, and how it is that the breath of the Spirit generates all things, and therefore how it is that we can attain cosmic harmony. Harmony with self, harmony with society, harmony with nature, and harmony with the entire cosmos. That is the unity of becoming. This work begins in the spirit, in this inner spiritual alchemy, but it has become complete in the body. Enlightenment is a physical experience. It begins in spirit, it ends in flesh. When your flesh has become enlightened, then you are enlightened. That is the work. And if this entire work is by that conception of the oneness of being, which is will, then it is love. Because love is unity. Love is singularity. Love is our yearning, our desiring. It is for things to become one. For the beautiful is wholeness. That which is beautiful is that which is whole. We love that thing and find it beautiful and are attracted to it, which is a whole. We love a person because we think that we become whole in them, they are a part of us, and by uniting with them we become what we should be. Beauty is wholeness. Beauty is singularity. That is beautiful which stands upon itself, that which is unto itself, needing no other thing. That is what beauty is. That is what we love. This love is the singularity of thyself, by which thou desirest, and for which thou desirest, and actest therefore. Right? You love the beautiful thing, but by that singularity of love, this knowledge, this will, action is begotten. Everything that you do out of love. For thou longest unto thyself perfection. Everything that you do so to seek yourself. Everything is for the self with a capital S. It can be with a small s, which is selfishness, or it can be with a capital S, which is really serving God. Singularity. By love thou conceivest thyself in the present. The present is the now, it is the singularity. For singularity can be nothing other than presence. For all forms are conceived in thyself, which are the forms of time, which are conceived in the present. Everything is occurring here and now. The Big Bang, which occurred 8 billion years ago, is occurring right now. And all this 8 billion years are occurring right now. And all the universes which transpired before that are here right now. The past is here. The future is here. Everything is wrapped up into this one moment. There is nothing else but that one eternal moment, the eternal now of God, who is forever. And we are simply perceiving this one moment again and again in different ways. And we perceive that to be time. We think that time is unfolding, which it is, but it is not something which is occurring over a period, over a multiplicity. It is the now. Your entire past and future are wrapped up in this one seed which you call the now. And what is the singularity? What is heaven? What is it that you desire? Everything that you desire without you is actually something which you desire within you. Every desire is really a desire of the self, which means that it is within the self. And so everything that you love is really self-love. You love the beautiful form because you want the beautiful form. You only love that beautiful form because it resonates inside of you. The experience of beauty is not there outside, it's inside of you. If you study love, what you truly love is the idea. When you love another person, you love the idea of the person. If you love someone for their beauty, what is that beauty? It is an idea. It is an experience. And where is that idea and experience? Inside of you. You seek food to satiate your hunger or for the pleasure of eating. Where is that pleasure? Is it in the food or is it in you? And when we eat, and when we drink, and when we breathe, we literally take the forms of the world into the singularity of the self. We digest and assimilate it into ourselves. And when you love something or someone, what you want is to digest them, to have them, and own them, and possess them completely and utterly. That is truly love. To completely have the thing is what love and desire is. To completely integrate them into your own being and become absolutely one. That is singularity. And all of that is really seeking nothing but yourself. And that is the unity of becoming. That is enlightenment. It is to find yourself 'Tis to find your whole self, not just a form of your fractured self, but the whole self, which contains inside of it everything which you have ever longed for, and wanted, and will want, in that one eternal, perfect moment, the now. By love thou perceivest thyself in the world. The world is deformed and generated and created. Out of this act of love, the forms of the world are perceived by the singularity of the Spirit, under the self-conception of the Spirit. God created in his image. In his image he created the world and man. In his self-conception, in his image, the self-conception of the idea of divinity, he perceived all the forms of the world, which is creation. For thou perceivest thyself as form, which is body in world, and a person in society. When we create the world through this process of self-differentiation, as the Spirit cleaveth asunder, in from unity into manyness, we conceive the Spirit in the form. A trace of the seed is still contained in the tree. The seed is in the plant itself from which it grew out of. The child which grew into you is inside of you. When a unity grows into a multiplicity, that unity stays in the center of that multiplicity. Can you see? The unity grows out into this multiplicity. But there it is. A trace of this unity is yet within the circle of forms. And so that is here, this body. This body is a form within forms. Yet this body is the central form, the axis of my consciousness, the perspective of my being. Body in world, self, personality in society. There is always a central form, an axis about which you perceive the world, and into which you conceive the world. That is thy self-generation, which is come of thy love, which is unto thy self-perception. Self-sustenance. And so we generate the self. Understanding this, you realize that you, and by which I mean the Spirit, is the seed of the self and the seed of the world, and that everything is a self-generation. But as we generate the world out in perception, we conceive it back into unity. Unity branches into multiplicity. But if there were only multiplicity, there would be nothing. For all that is unity. And so the multiplicity does not stay multiple, but must be a unity from a perspective, so that we may perceive it at all. Yes, we create the multiplicity of the world, but yet we speak of the world as it is a single whole. So the seed of Spirit becomes the world, but the world is again conceived into the Spirit. Through the body, it's conceived all into the central axis and form of the body. That cycle of perception and conception, of breathing out and breathing in, that is self-sustenance. That is the breath, in and out. That is the pulsating motion of the breath and the heartbeat, and every cycle, both psychological and cosmic. These are the generations of thyself, that in thy self-conception thou perceivest thyself in time and world and society, and thou perceivest thyself in time and body in world and person in society. These are the generations. Time is like the spiritual, society is like the imaginal, and body is like the physical. If you remember this, the spirit, the imagination, and the physical. This is the self, the source of consciousness. This is our person, our personality inside of society. And this is the body. And that corresponds here to time. Time is that experience, the self-reflection of the spirit. Society is the differentiation of the imagination, and space is the differentiation of that which is physical. These, therefore, are the three spheres of being. That pure time creates humanity, creates society. Society creates the world. Mm. Consciousness, society, world. And it is a mystery that it is not the world which creates society, but society it is which creates the world. For that which contains the part physically was created by the part metaphysically. It looks like the human being exists inside of the world physically, but the world exists inside of the human being metaphysically. And the same way, it seems as if we live in society, but it is we who created society. Society is a perspectival differentiation of the self. Hmm. And understanding this diagram then of generation, we have then that thy thought forms begotten of presence are the meanings which thou longest unto. These spiritual things which therefore thou needest, these are thy needs. Thy image forms begotten of desire are even these dreams which thou dreamest, which are the stuff of perfection, the which thou therefore wantest. Thy action forms begotten of intention are then formed to fulfill what thou wantest, even as thou doest. The spirit is that which you need, that self-perfection, that pure presence. In the imagination, there is the longing unto the what you want, that self-perfection of spirit, which we are striving unto. And that again crystallizes into action. Our needs crystallize into our wants, and our wants crystallize into our actions. And all these things that we do so to fulfill our wants, and our wants so to fulfill our need. Everything that you want, which is love and beauty and truth and goodness, these things you want because you need. The spirit only needs one thing, which is God. The spirit needs God in the same way that the body needs air and breath. The spirit breathes God. But we then desire the form of God, the form of beauty, the form of perfection, that perfect ideal, the kingdom of heaven on earth. That is what we desire and long to in the image of God. And so we do, and we work, so to fulfill that image. Thus it is, spirit, imagination, body. Singularity, reflection, form. Therefore thou livest, for love thou livest. That thou embody in act what is thine in spirit, in form what is thine in singularity. The utmost meaning for which thou livest is the meaning of thy life. which is love. And the meaning of life is not something outside of life, but it is life itself, properly lived. And it is freedom that thou no longer needest and no longer wantest, but thou art that very thing, not wanting God, but being with God. For you only fulfill a want and a desire when you are that thing which you desire. You only fulfill the want for food when you eat. You literally become the food and the food becomes you. Only when you completely absorb the form into your singularity will you be free of the need. And you will only be free of all need and all want when you have the all singularity of God. Then no longer dost thou say, I act, but sayest thou, I am, and thou art. This is pure freedom when you are free of acting, when no longer need you to do what you are. That is the dream. No longer needing to work and toil for survival, but being alive. No longer looking for life, but being life, living truly. That is thy self-perfection, when thou art oneness self-become, which is thy happiness. Self-structure. In each moment thou art thyself self-become, self in time, body in world, and person in society. Therefore thou actest in the form of what thou needest. And truly thou needest naught but thine own self. For whatever is without thee which thou perceivest was first within thee, as thou conceivest. As we said, you love the beautiful form for the beauty of the form, but the beauty of the form is not in the form but is in you. If you truly study this, you will learn this truth, that everything that you desire out there in the world is in you. Were it not within you, were you not possessing the beauty within you, you would not perceive it outside. You could not perceive the form of beauty. Did you not know the singularity of beauty? Therefore it is gotten without when it is gotten within. The work is not to deny the body. It is not to destroy the body and destroy physical desire. It is to fulfill it. But to fulfill the desire of the flesh can only be done through the spirit. We can only have the thing in the flesh when we have it in the spirit. Because it is we who generate the flesh. And in each moment, the flesh, the body, the world, society is regenerated. So if we were to be given our desire in our hands, we would lose it in the next moment, because that it were given to us. Only when you give it to yourself, from yourself, will truly you have it, and therefore reconceive it in every moment. That is when you truly have a thing, and you will never fear losing it, when you have it within. Therefore, when thou seest anything without thee, which thou desirest to change, change then thyself, knowing that it was first within thee, the self-same. Everything out there, in form, is an emergence, an emanation of singularity. Your self-image is the root and seed of the world. There is anything in the world you dislike, it has emerged from the logos and seed of your soul. Any imperfection in the world stems out from an imperfection in the soul. When the soul is aright, the world shall be aright. And if there is anything in the world which you would like to have in body, have it then in soul. When that form is so strongly conceived in spirit, When spirit conceives this form strongly, then the body shall have it. For the body is the crystallization of spirit. If there is some form here which you want in the flesh, then have it there. If there is a distance between your body and what you desire, between yourself and what you desire, that distance down here in the world of forms has emerged from a noetic distance in the world of spirit. The meaning, the idea, and archetype and essence of that form was not truly conceived in the singularity of thy being. For if this form were truly conceived in this pure singularity of spirit, if you were truly wealthy, truly loving, if in spirit you truly realized God, so utterly and purely and wholly, then in the flesh you would see God around you. And that is for God to answer your prayers. And God would give you whatever you want. And you would ask of God and you would receive. Because that you have become one with God. So any work which you see out here, whether it be a work of pain, wanting to remove, or a work of wanting, wanting to have it, all the work of the flesh, all the work of the mind, all the work here and there is the work of spirit. Focus then only on this one thing, which is spirit, to completely conceive spirit in pure singularity in the unity of becoming. And you will have the world exactly as you want, and you will create the kingdom of God on earth. And hold thee to account therefore, and naught else, for all without thee is become out from within thee. This is the structure of thyself. As it was in memory, it is also in thy day. For that is the memory of the Spirit in thee, which seeketh to get in form without what are the forms within. For that is the love for which thou livest. And so the generation of time, moment to moment, hour to hour, day by day, these are the generations of spirit, generating itself so to know itself. The spirit creates the world so to be spirit, and God creates so to be God. And we are made in the image of God. All of this work, this whole world, which is really just a holographic projection of your spirit, it is nothing but you. The entire world is your perception, your form. The reason for the world is to bring it back into spirit. The reason that we have created all these forms and images which we lust for, or fear, and hope for, and long for, and yearn for. All of our anxieties, our worries, all of the forms of the world were differentiated out from you. Your spirit was the seed of all this. And it perceived all of these in a perspectival, fractalic differentiation, only for it to reveal unto itself, unto you, who you are. Everything which has come out from you can be brought back into you. So you can have anything in the world which you want. And that is the work day by day. But your work is to understand what is the work of the day. For this may not be done in a single moment or day. This may take years, hundreds, thousands, millions. But is that not okay to you? For who are you truly? Who are you? If you know yourself to be spirit, then an entire eternity is worth waiting for. Therefore, this is the diagram of thy wants and dreams and needs. all these things which are in the form of love. And as thou conceivest therefore thyself in the moment is also thy day, which is the structure thereof. There is this here one moment, the now. But the entire day which you live from morning unto evening is also the now. It is again a perspective, a projection of this one eternal moment, becoming the day, becoming the week, becoming the cycles of your life. That is why it seems as though you do not get what you want right now. For I said, yes, you will have what you want, and you will have it now. But that does not mean right now, for that is an illusion of perspective. Were I to say that it shall happen in 1,000 years, and you know for a certainty that it shall be there in 1,000 years, then can you not wait 1,000 years? And would not those 1,000 years be waited in ease, for there is nothing which you must need do, nothing, but simply to witness the unfoldings of spirit. This is the work. Know therefore from what all I have bespoken unto you and prophesied, that you shall have it. These are the words of prophecy. It is the ultimate prophecy, that you shall have, and it shall come. God shall come. That singularity shall arise, for all form must be absorbed into singularity. As there was ultimate singularity in the beginning, so must there be in the end. And so all we need to do is wait and live day to day and moment to moment and do the work of each moment. That is the work. And truly coming into unity with this self-becoming, that is enlightenment. This, therefore, is the day and the motion of the body, self-motivation. Here livest thou. Thou livest for thy day. For thou sayest, today I am. In the self-conception of the spirit, when you deeply say I am, you say I am now. I am today, in this hour, in this week. This time that you perceive yourself to have been born in this body, in this society, in this century, in this time, on planet Earth, you perceive all these things in form because it is you who had conceived them in the spirit. For today thou seekest thy self-perfection, and the entire work shall be done in this day. And there is no span of time greater than the day, as there is no span of time smaller than the moment. As the moment cannot be conceived in anything, so cannot the day be perceived in anything. And you might say, well, what is the week? The week is but day by day, and the years day by day. The entire singularity of your consciousness from beginning to end is the day. You should never worry about anything more than the day. For tomorrow is but today. Do you truly understand this? There is nothing more in reality than one day. That is the liminal edge of time. And time then repeats itself again and again. We are here living the same day repeating itself again and again, but perceiving the day to regenerate itself in different forms. But here we are reborn into each day. We die from the day, are reborn into the same day. There is nothing but the one day. Therefore never manage or think for anything more than the day. The morrow shall take care of itself. Focus only on the day. All which thou desirest, and all intendest, dost thou in the form of love. Therefore these are the diagrams of thy acts, how thou livest the day, which are according to thy desires. And this therefore is the work which is to live the day, to live the acts of the day, according to the desires of the soul, according to the needs of the spirit. And these the diagram of thy desires, wherefore thou actest, which are according to thy needs. And these the diagram of thy needs, which thou livest for, which are the meanings of thy soul. And so to organize and structure and conceive the day, begin with the meanings of the soul. And do everything which you do through and for the soul and spirit. And this is begotten in self-conception, in the eternal now. For there is nothing but thyself, which conceiveth, and which perceiveth. Live then for the day, and let the morrow care for itself. By love shall all things be done. Do then no thing but love alone. For love is the singularity of will. And from will, from love, from that singularity of the spirit, everything which is done is done. Every thought, every feeling, every emotion, every act in every second of the day is enacted, formed out of love. The only thing which you need to do is to be spirit, to be present, and that is self-conception, and that is love, to love God. Self-discipline. Here thou actest in thy day, in love thou livest unto thy self-perfection. When thou sayest, I am, therefore sayest thou, I act. The thought form, when thou sayest, I am, is thine intuition of meaning, which is become into image form. When thou sayest, I am such and such, which is thy desire. And these are the habits of thy soul. For what thou wantest, therefore thou doest, which is become into action form. When thou sayest, I act, which is thine intention. This was that singularity which we bespoke of will, spirit, imagination, body. Will, desire, intention. And intention is truly inaction. And that of perception, again, of spirit, imagination, and body, that was intuition, knowing, and sensation. When you say that I am, from that saying, from that singularity, all action, all creation emerges out from that, from this pure, holy thought form. You're saying, I am, from the pure thought which is the seed of the world. There is an intuition, a pure presential Gnostic oneness with meaning itself, with the pure and holy idea of the self, the idea of God. Everything which you see before you, all the world, is a projection of your idea of God. Your perception of God is the central singularity, the absolute idea from which everything emerges. And so if you think God to be evil, the world will be evil. And if you think God to be good, the world will be good. That intuition of God, that vision of God, that is the seed of all being. That becomes the image form. That single spiritual pure thought form becomes the image form. When thou sayest, I am such and such in self-image, and unto that thing you desire. You desire the thing which you think that you are. You will desire according to what you think yourself to be. And so you can change your desires if you change your self-image. And you can achieve a desire and no longer desire it simply by having it in that self-image. You will desire to be such and such only because you are not such and such. But when you are that very thing, which can be done right now in spirit, you will no longer desire it, for you are it. And these things, these images, the thing which you think you are, these are the habits of thy soul. You cannot fake habits. Habits never can be formed through action. You can do a thing 1,000 times, and it shall not be a habit. Habit is not repetition. Habit is having. To have a habit is to have the thing. The habit of discipline can only be gotten by being disciplined. The habit of charitable action can only be begotten from the attribute of being charitable. Those then will become your action forms. For these things therefore thou doest in the form of the day, from the singularity of thyself. This is therefore the structure of thyself, which is thy discipline, which is come of the meaning of thyself, which is thine aspiration. That is will and motivation, or motivation and discipline. Discipline is structure. The discipline of the day and how you structure your actions and your thoughts and what you do, that structure, as the structure of form, is begotten from the singularity of meaning, which is love and aspiration. When you long unto this holy ideal of being the thing, the discipline to enact it shall be begotten naturally. Even thus, discipline is begotten of love, and that is thy routine, which is the structure of thy flesh, in the form of thy day. Structure upholdeth not itself, but is upheld by meaning. Structure cannot reconceive itself. Form cannot form itself. You can have the form and lose it, if you had not the singularity. It is only singularity which can uphold form, and singularity having been gotten shall never be lost. And so having the meaning of love and aspiration shall give rise unto the structure of discipline, and you shall live that disciplined life through love, and only through love. Recreation. In each moment thou sayest, I am. Therefore in self-conception conceivest thou thy habits and thy discipline. Each day thou conceivest thyself, which is as unto self-creation. Each day is reconceived by the breath of the Spirit, and that self-image, the self-conception of the self, that shall create the day. The day and all the actions of the day, and all the works of the day, and all your works and days are created, fractalically projected out from that self-image, out from that one eternal present moment in which you say, I am, and conceive yourself. In that pure spark of love, you shall create all things. For thy habits are begotten in thy self-image, which is what thou thinkest thyself to be in thy character. Seek not only unto personality, seek not unto habits, but seek unto character. Seek not to do things, but to be the thing. Seek not to live the disciplined life, but to live the thing which gives that discipline. Therefore thou doest according to what thou wantest. Therefore if thou seekest to be upright in the form of thine action, then be thou straight in the singularity of thine intention, which is to be true unto thyself. For every action is inaction, and every inaction is enacted from its ideal. So do not look unto your actions and try to change them, but know that all the actions which you have enacted have come out from your ideals. Change then your ideal, and change your intention, and change your self-image, and change your perception of divinity, and that then shall change all these things. And if thou seekest to straighten thyself, and thyself to reform, then seek unto thyself in truth, and speak again, I am, that thou mayest be which thou aspirest, and therefore do what thou intendest. And therefore the work begins in the self, and is the entire work. And so we have explained how all your wants, your needs, your thoughts, your personality, your character, these are hieratically unfolded by the Spirit. From this one singularity of the Spirit, there are progressive degrees of emanation, more and more and more, until the entire world is created. Inside of this world, there is yet the trace of the Spirit. We have Spirit there. Then we have the body in the world. We have the self, the person in society. We have the body in space, the person in society, and we have the spirit in time. Understanding this, and understanding that each circle is generated by the previous, there is nothing to do but spirit. When this one small cycle shall change, the cycle of recreation, the breath of the spirit, that shall progressively cause all of these other spheres to change. Like a cascading waterfall, what occurs here shall overflow into all the rest. Discipline, aspiration, wants, needs, the work of the day, these are all created from spirit. The body politic and the locus of the body, the microcosmos. In the beginning is the oneness of being, which is before the manyness of things. God is the one, the all singularity, and the singularity of singularities. In self-conception he conceiveth himself, in his very breath, and therefore conceiveth he the forms of all things. All things are upon the form of God, which is the cosmos. And therefore God perceiveth the cosmos in his very mind. Thy spirit is the oneness of thy being, which is God in thee. Therefore art thou form of God, and in self-conception thou conceivest thyself, even in thy very breath. Begotten of thee is thy mind and thy flesh. and thou perceivest thyself in body, which is in the cosmos, and thou conceivest the cosmos in thy body. Therefore thou art microcosmos, conceiving and conceived. That is God in thee, and thou art God in the world. This is the summary of all that we have said, and understanding, therefore, how spirit has become flesh, how the Word of God has become flesh, that this flesh lives in the world here. The breath of the Spirit, as it gave forth in perception, it shall draw into itself in conception. And therefore the Spirit shall conceive and draw the entire world into this one point of the being, the human being. Therefore you as a human being, in your body, in your mind, are a microcosmos. This means that the little circle which you are in the bigger cosmos is a perfect image. You are a part which contains the whole, a part which contains the entire whole within inside of it. Everything in the cosmos is perfectly mirrored inside of you. The human body, the rivers of the veins, the valleys inside of us, the starry constellations in the lattice of the mind and the brain, all the structures, the architectonic temple of the skeleton, all these things mirror perfectly the structures and the cycles of the cosmos. And understanding this, understanding that as God is within thee, that thou art God in the world, that you are the vessel of God in the world. You are that vessel, that form, by which God, the presence of God, is in the world. You will understand, therefore, your cosmic purpose. The cosmos only exists for the human being. The cosmos is the projection of the soul. The cosmos exists for man, not man for the cosmos. And so this world will be only as long as the perfect human being is. The world shall be only for as long as that God is in the world, which is your work. For God created man in his image to do the work of God, to do work in the image of God. The human being is the pivot, the fulcrum point, which gives being unto the world. 'Tis through the human being that God breathes his spirit into the world, through the spirit of man. This is then the law of God, that singularity ruleth form, for form is perceived by singularity, and also conceived thereof. For what is begotten of a thing, and also returneth unto it, is therefore ruled by it. And therefore singularity is the law of form, for that form conformeth unto singularity. The good of a thing is that it be what it is. The evil of a thing is that it be what it is not. And therefore the goodness of a form is that it conformeth unto the law of his singularity. A form is good in that it is the singularity. A beautiful thing is beauty inasmuch as it participates in beauty. What is a good man and what is a bad man? A good man is he who embodies manliness, he who is a form of his singularity, And a bad man is he who does not embody the true characters and virtues and qualities of true manhood. A good human being is he who is human, who truly embodies humanity, who is a form of humanity. What is then the real good and the true absolute good? It is God and to be godly. God is the all, which is the good, as it is bespoken, and God is the beautiful, as it is beheld, and God is the truth, as it is beknown. That is the law of God, that all things are the forms of God, for that all things are begotten of him, as he perceiveth them, and also returneth unto him, as he conceiveth them. Goodness is that the many be unto the one. Goodness is that the forms of God be godly, that the forms of oneness be one, in harmony, and evil is that they be away from the one in discord. Goodness is God is oneness, evil is manyness. To fall away from oneness into manyness, that is evil. To reintegrate and harmonize the many into the one, that is the good. Then this is the goodness of man, that he be the form of God, which is his very spirit. The goodness of the human being is to therefore be spiritual. Goodness is spirituality, which is his happiness in his self-perfection. His goodness is the harmony of his oneness, which is to be. His evil is the discord of his manyness, which is to do. Being is goodness. Doing is evil. We mean doing which is done for itself. Any action which is done for its own sake is evil. Any action which is done not for the sake of God is evil. Any action, any perception which does not perceive God is an evil perception, for that it fractures away from the whole unto the part, from the all unto the sum. Such an evil perception where we see only a part of humanity and not its all, a part of the world, not the whole, that is oppression. That is what causes oppression and injustice. It is to acknowledge only the part and not the whole. We oppress someone when we do not see them, or when we see people unequally. When we give priority to one person over the other, we cause suffering for that injustice. That injustice in action was caused by an injustice in perception, and that was not to see God, not to truly behold the oneness of being. For absolute oneness is absolute harmony. And if we had truly beheld absolute oneness, and therefore truly perceived God in the moment, we would have beheld complete and utter pure unity and harmony. For whatever is done of itself is evil, being ruled therefore by the flesh. But done of the will of the Spirit it is good. Perceiving God, it is the Spirit which shall do. But the action of the Spirit is pure being. In such an action you are not even conscious of what you do, but you simply are. You are the very thing. Like water, the goodness flows from you. That action is truly good, the which you are not conscious of. For if you were conscious of an action, if you did something good to someone and were conscious of the good that you did, and you were aware that I have done such and such a person, there would be your ego. And if your ego is present in an action, then the action was only done for the ego. The action was done for lust, for the love of power, to be seen. That action alone is truly good, which is done for God and for nothing else. It is pure selflessness. It is to be pure and utter selfless. That is only when you perceive God, and therefore die in God and live in the Spirit. All these things are done by love. For verily the law is not something without, ruling flesh, but it is become within, being the rule of spirit. Thou in the form of God art both thyself ruler, and by thyself ruled. That is the kingdom of God, the kingdom of man. That is what it means to be a servant of God, to serve God, to perceive God. It is to do the work of God. To serve God is to be like unto God in the world. To serve God is to be God in the world. To be the vessel and the locus through which God breathes his spirit and his being into the world. It is to be the reason for the existence of the world, which you can be. You can live in such a way that you are the reason that the world exists. You can live a life of such high righteousness and nobility and dignity and godliness that you are the reason which makes all the suffering and evil and oppression in the world worth it. That is singularity. That is the unity of becoming. It is to be the singularity which conceives all the forms of suffering into one pure unity. Then you will be the redemption. You will redeem all the children of the world. You will redeem all the suffering which mankind has faced since the beginning of time. You will be the redemption of all things. That is what it means to be a child of God, to be utterly godly, to give oneself up, to give the ego up, and to be God. Consummation. That is God in thee, and thou art God in the world. Therefore the world is become good through the goodness of man. For all things are forms of God by their being form of man, which is the centre of the world. If thou be upright, then shall the world be upright in thee, and if thou fallest, then shall the world also fall from thee. That is the law of God in thee, which is the law of thyself. Do you see? When you have truly understood this, you will understand that you are literally doing the work of God, that you right now are the most profound and important thing which can ever possibly exist, and that your life is the greatest possible thing. And understanding this, you will understand the world, that this work is so great that so there are the deepest forms of anguish and suffering, the deepest that humanity can suffer, it will suffer, because that you can make it all worth it. You can bring it all together, and you can be the center of the entire world through your righteousness, through your godliness. That is the law of God in thee, which is the law of thyself, begotten of the aspiration of love, which is unto God. It is thy self-discipline, which is the very law. That loving God, you will have been made in the image of God. You will be reborn in God, reborn through Spirit, and that ideal of the Spirit and self-conception shall perceive itself into the structures and the forms of godliness, and you will therefore live the utmost godly life of the utmost piety, righteousness, self-discipline, combining in you all virtue and all conduct and all nobility and all perfection, that therefore thou doest as thou art, and therefore thy self-becoming, which is the will of thy spirit, is then in the form of thy being. Therefore thou desirest according to the law of God. Wherefore thou desirest what God desireth, and therefore thou become in character unto the likeness of God. And thou intendest according to the law of God. Wherefore intendest thou what God intendeth, and therefore thou doest the works of God. That is the unity of becoming, which is the oneness of being in thee. These are the generations of thy being, in life and in death, that thou art unto God, which is thine end, as was thy very beginning. God is the singularity of thyself, from whom thou art come, and whom thou shalt return. In him thou wast begotten, and now in him thou diest. Hmm. And so this is the work, this is the all. I have bespoken unto you in these few short lectures all the wisdom which I have. And if you truly contemplate and listen with an open heart, you shall receive what I have here to give. These are the greatest videos that I have ever made, and some of the greatest that I shall ever make. And if you are here, truly here, present with me, then I beseech the God of my heart, which is the breath of my spirit, to breathe into you the wisdom of the deep and the keys to the unseen, and to inspire you with that august wind and holy zephyr, which shows you the oneness of being, that you become the unity of becoming, the utmost singularity at the center of the world, in pure absolute knowledge and action and righteousness, that you die and die in God, that you may live in God. These are here my words, the which I bespeak, and wherewith unto you I bequeath. And in the name of God, as we began, shall we end.